Daf Mem Aleph Amud Aleph. We'll begin at Daf Mem Amud Beis, the second line from the bottom. We learned in the Mishnah that one cannot add flour to charoises or to chardal, to mustard, because we're afraid that it'll become chometz. And if he did, the chum say yochel miyad, he must eat it immediately. But Rav Meir is oyster, he says we can't rely on that, and it's also you cannot eat it. It has to be burnt. In the Gemara we learned that Rav Kahana said the machlekes is only to chardal and to mustard. But l'tei charoises, as far as charoises, divra kol yisaraf miyad, it has to be burnt immediately. You cannot eat it. There's no machlekes in the case of charoises. The only machlekes is in the case of chardal. Amar Rav Huna Breit Rav Yehuda Amar Rav Nachman Shmuel. So the Rav Huna said in Breit of Yehuda, and he said in the name of Nachman, and same as Shmuel, that halacha kedivrei chachamim. The halacha is like the chachamim, and therefore you are allowed to eat the mixture. You're allowed to eat it. If you eat it immediately, it's mutter. Amar le Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Rav Huna Breit the Rav Yehuda. He said, "Acharoises kamar mar." Is he referring to the case even to charoises? Oya chardal kamar mar, or is it only to the case of the mustard? Meaning, does he agree with Rav Kahana or does he not agree? Amar le lemay nafkamina. What's a nafkamina Rav Kahana? To as far as Rav Kahana said, the Amar Rav Kahana machlekes l'say chardal. Aval l'say charoises devra kol yisaraf miyad. Amar le, Rav Huna said to Rav Nachman, Shmieli, I didn't hear what Rav Kahana said. Klaimar le svirli, I don't hold of what he said. This chilek that he made between charoises and chardal, I don't hold of that. And the machlekes is by both cases. And therefore, the machlekes chachamim, and even by charoises, yochel miyad. Tosfos points out that even though Rav Kahana brought a brisa to support his position, so there's a right from the brisa, but nevertheless, Rav Huna doesn't hold that way because the mashmoi, so the Mishnah is not that way. It's not mash from the Mishnah that there's a chiluk. Amar Rav Ashi Kavase, the Rav Kahana mistabra, he said it is mistabra like Raya to make this chiluk. Mida Amar Shmuel and halacha Rav Yosi, because since Shmuel said the halacha is not like Rav Yosi. Now Rav Yosi said that if you have the grain that's swollen because of the moisture, in order to prevent it from becoming chometz, you can soak it in the vinegar, and that causes it to shrivel up. So Shmuel said that's not the halacha. We don't paskin like Rav Yosi in that regard. So my love, doesn't that mean? That's Musa Udaloit Samis, that it doesn't cause it to contract, and and it also doesn't cause it to contract, and it also causes it to become chometz. It doesn't cause it to contract, so the way the Pnei Yeshua learns is, and therefore, it's not considered, it's not different than another liquid, so therefore, if it's not different than another liquid, it'll promote the chimutz, it'll cause it to become chometz. The Gemara says, no, it's not a raya. It doesn't promote chimutz. It's not like another liquid. But what he says is, it doesn't hold like Rav Yosi because it's not mitzametz. Meaning, it doesn't shrivel it up. It doesn't mean that therefore it is like water. It's not like another liquid. It's not mitzametz, but it doesn't promote chimutz either. So you don't have any raya. So continuing on with the halach in the Mishnah says, "Ein mevashlim," you can't boil the korban pesach in liquids or fruit juices. It's also to boil it in these liquids. Ton Rabbanan b'mayim. The Torah says that you can't eat the korban pesach. Bashal mavushal b'mayim. You can't eat the korban pesach when it's cooked, boiled in water. Ainli ela b'mayim. I only know if it's cooked in water, if it's boiled in water. Shar mashkim minayin. How do I know that even with other liquids, it's also amar kal v'chaymer. It's a kal v'chaymer. Uma mayim she'ein mefigin tam. Water which doesn't give any flavor to the meat. It doesn't give any. So it's neutral. I mean, it's cooking it, and it doesn't give any flavor to the meat. Asur. Nevertheless, it's also shar mashkim shemefigim tam, other liquids which do give a flavor. So that it distorts the natural taste of the what should be roasted meat. It not only boils it, but it also gives some flavor to the meat, some foreign flavor to the meat. Lo kol shekain, certainly that should be awesome. That's what the Chum say. Rabbi says a different reason. He has a different source. Rabbi Yomer b'mayim, it says that it can't be boiled in water. I only know the Isser is water. Shar mashkim minayin. How do I know other liquids? We have a double lashon of vashel mevushel. Mikol makam. Therefore, any type of boiling, whether it's water or other liquids. My beinayu. What's the difference between Rabbi and the Chachamim? Miki beinayu. It's like kedar. Nafkamina is like kedar. But there's no other liquids. It's being boiled without another liquid. It's in a pot and it's boiling in its own juices. If you learn from like the Chachamim that from Mayim and it's a Kal V'Chaimer, it's like Kedar, doesn't have any other juices. But if you learn Bashal Mavushal like Rebbe, we're marbe any type of bishul. So even if it's being boiled in its own juices, it's cooked in its own juices, it's also called Bashal Mavushal, and it's also well, they're not marbe. This case over here, it's like Kedar. What are they marbe? From the double lotion of Bashal Mavushal. More answers me. Look at the sun. You need for the following. That we learn in the Brisa, if you boil the Pesach, and then afterwards you roasted it, or first you roasted it and then you boiled it, in both cases it's considered a bashal, it's considered mevushal, and you're chayiv. So the double lashon is to teach me that it doesn't matter if it was roasted at some stage, but if it was boiled as well, then it's chayiv. So the more now analyzes this. Tell me the case where he first boiled it and then he roasted it. He's chayiv the habashla because it was boiled, and the fact that he roasted it after the fact doesn't change the fact that it was boiled meat. But if he first roasted it and then he boiled it, why is he chayiv hatzli eshu? It was roasted over the fire. More answers. Amar of Kahana, Hamani. Who's the Tanitz Rav Yosi? This Tanitz Rav Yosi. The Tanya, we learn in the Brisa Yitzim Rakika short. For matzah, if he takes a wafer of matzah and he soaked it, so it was baked. It was baked and then he soaked it. He can be Yitzah Yechiv matzah. It's still called matzah. Umavushal, and if it was boiled, shalom yimuch, as long as it was not dissolved. As long as it was not dissolved, you can be yaitz with that. It's a remersa. But Rav Yesi says no. If you took the matzah and you soaked it in water, yes, you can be yaitz. Aval, however, but not if it was boiled. If you took the baked matzah and they boiled it, even if it was not dissolved, you can't be yaitz with it. So you see that he holds that if it was, even though it was initially baked, but if it was cooked afterwards, it loses its status as being baked. Here also, even if it was roasted first, it was shlit, but afterwards it's cooked, it loses its status as cooked. Ula says, Ramer. You could say that it's going according to Ramer. Ramer says that you could be yaitzu with the matzah mevushal. But there's a chilik. Shiny hacha damakar vashal levushal mikol malkaim. Really, I'll tell you, generally speaking, if it had a status of something that's baked, it doesn't lose that status if you subsequently cook it or boil it. And here also, we would have said the same thing by something that was roasted. If it was initially roasted, it still has a status of something shlit. But here, since it says basham levushal, we have a riboy. The double lashon means to include any type of bishul, even if it was cooked after being roasted. Even if it was boiled after being roasted, it's still considered to be mevushal, and you can't be yaitza, and you're chayiv for that. You might think if he burnt it, you might think that that's not called liyesh, it's burnt. It's like a charcoal. Talmud Leimer, the pasuk says, "Al taichle mimena nam mevashel mevushel b'mayim." You can't eat it partially cooked or bashel mevushel b'mayim. that it's boiled in the water. So what is the Yisr? No, uvashal mevushal amatiloch. Where is the Yisr if it's partially roasted or boiled? So there you can't, that would be, there it's chai. But v'loish, it's holokol tzorka, but not if it's completely roasted. Heichidomi, what's the case of completely roasted? Amar Ravashi, deshava charuch. He made it like a charcoal, he made it like charred, like a coal. Ton Rabbanon, yachal achal kazayis chai. You might think if he ate a piece of kazayis of raw meat, that he should be chayiv, Talmud Leimer, al teichla, mimena, na, mevashal, vashal mevushal. You can't eat it na. Na does not mean raw. Na means partly roasted, not complete, partly roasted. So, the Yisr is the chayiv of Malak is na, uvashal, amatil. Where is the Yisr if it's na or if it's boiled? V'lo chayiv, but not if it's chai, not if it's raw. Well, therefore, you might say it's mutter. He can eat it even if it's raw. He's be mutter. Talmud Leimer ki'im sliyesh. No, it has to be roasted. So heichidome. What is the case of partially roasted? What's no amarav? He says they called it a barnim where it was partially roasted. So meaning the pshat is as follows. Rabbeinu Dovid speaks it out as follows: that the Isser, the specific Isser is no abashal mavush, is partly roasted, or if it's boiled, then that's the lav, and that's a specific lav. So there's malchus. Ki'im sliyesh, if it has to be ki'im sliyesh, and if it's not sliyesh, then if it's not sliyesh, meaning, and if it's raw, then he is over. It's not mutter, he's over, but there's no malchus because that's a lav shebeklalis. The Torah specifies that no bashal mevushal. So if he eats it partially roasted or boiled, that's the specific lav. Over there, there's malchus. If it's raw, it's not liyesh. But it's not a specific lav, so it's a lav shebeklalis, and there's no malchus. Another halacha amar of chistam mevashal b'chamit v'rei b'Shabbos pot. If somebody cooking on Shabbos is av malach. But if he cooks not on the fire, he cooks on the hot springs of Tveria, then he is chayiv. Pesach shebishla b'chamit Tveria, but if it's a korban Pesach that was boiled in the chamit Tveria, he's chayiv. For that, he's chayiv. So the Pri Yitzchak said this is only a mashal. It's only a mashal over here because, of course, you can't cook the korban Pesach in chamit Tveria. It will be possible b'yotze. But it just means an example, something that was heated up through the sun, not through fire. So if somebody is vashal chamit Tveria on Shabbos, he's potter because he's not cooking on the fire. But a korban Pesach shebishla b'chamit Tveria, he'll be chayiv, notwithstanding that it's not on the fire. So why do we say on Shabbos that he's pot is not chayiv? They told us H being in the lack because there has to be something that's cooked from a told us an H, that it's from the fire, that it's something derived from the fire, and this isn't actual fire. So Pesach Nami Lav told us Eshu. So why on Pesach should be chayiv? It's also not told us Esh. Omarova, my chayiv the Ketani. What do we mean to say that Ketani the Ka'avar Mishum Tzli Eish, that he's chayiv because it's not Tzli Eish? What we mean to say is it's not that it's chayiv because it's considered bashal mevushal. It is the same as Shabbos, and it's not considered to be that it is boiled. It's boiled in the fire. However, it's not roasted on the fire either. So it's not sliyesh. So we say chayiv is because it's not sliyesh. So apparently, he holds over here, not like the approach before, that Rava holds that even though this is only from the sliyesh, it's over from sliyesh, you would get malchus for it, even though it's not the specific law. Rav Chibra, Rav Nosson Masal al Hadar, Rav Chisda Beheji, he learns it explicitly. Omer Rav Chisda says, Amavashal B'chamit Tver B'Shabbos Potter. If you boil with it, the Chamit Tver on Shabbos, you're Potter. U Pesach Shebishla B'chamit Tver Yachayev. But the Korban Pesach, you're Chayev. What is the Chayev? Sha'avar Mishum Sli Eish. Not Bashal Levushal. It says Beheji B'Fer Sha'avar Mishum Sli Eish.